Arcadian Vanguard presents The Wrestling News in your daily wrestling newscast for Friday, December 30th, 2022. Good morning. I'm Mike Sempervive. We begin today with a possible injury at last night's WWE Holiday Tour house show in Hershey, Pennsylvania. AJ Styles appeared to suffer a lower leg or ankle injury during a match between the OC and the Judgment Day after tumbling over the top rope to the outside, according to several eyewitness accounts. The match ended abruptly after the spot, with referees calling for medical assistance at ringside and Styles being helped to his feet by tag team partners Carl Anderson and Luke Gallows. We will keep you updated as more information about Styles' injury becomes available. It's the second possible injury during WWE's Holiday Tour, following Santos Escobar's fall during a ladder match at last Monday's Madison Square Garden show. In ratings news, the final edition of AEW Dynamite of 2022 drew 876,000 viewers to TBS last Wednesday night, down 8.46% from last week's 957,000, according to Showbuzz Daily. The rating in the key 18 to 49-year-old demographic was tied for the second lowest of the year at 0.28, down 7.82% from last week's 0.30, according to WrestleNomics. The show dropped from number 3 in the Cable 150 last week in the key demo to number 5 this week. Dynamite scored an average viewership of 955,711 in 2022, up 7.17% from the show's average viewership. The average key demo rating for 2022 was 0.34, even with the average key demo rating of 2021. NXT last Tuesday night drew an audience of 588,000 to the USA Network, down from last week's 705,000 according to Showbuzz Daily. The rating in the key demographic was 0.12, translating to 157,000 viewers, and also down from last week's 0.14 according to WrestleNomics. NXT averaged 623,461 viewers per episode in 2022, which is down 6.36% from the 2021 average, with an average key demo rating of 0.14, down from the 2021 average of 0.16. Réseau des Sports, which served as the French language broadcaster for AEW in Canada, has ended its broadcast of Dynamite, effective with this past Wednesday's show. A post on RDS's Facebook page late Wednesday night stated, quote, "Thank you from the bottom of our hearts for joining us tonight and the past few weeks. Sadly, Dynamite tonight was our last broadcast of AEW in French on RDS. Due to budget constraints, we unfortunately won't be back in 2023. Thanks to everyone who has joined our fall dates. See you next time. Let's hope so. The wrestling team in RDS." Unquote. RDS began airing Dynamite this past August. When it began, AEW became the first pro wrestling show broadcast live in Quebec since promoter Eddie Quinn's wrestling show, broadcast on CBFT-TV, the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation's French language channel, from 1953 to 1963. The second hour of Dynamite on RDS was matched up against a 1-hour French language airing of Raw between 9 and 10 p.m., which was broadcast on TVA Sports 2. Turning to Impact Wrestling, Impact presented a Best of 2022 recap show last night on Access TV, during which year-end awards were announced as voted on by the fans. Josh Alexander won Male Wrestler of the Year, Jordan Grace won Knockout of the Year, Motor City Machine Guns won Men's Tag Team of the Year, Death Dolls won Knockout Tag Team of the Year, and Mike Bailey won X Division Star of the Year. Josh Alexander against Mike Bailey from the December 8th episode of Impact Wrestling was named Match of the Year, while Alexander, regaining the Impact World title, won Moment of the Year. Bhupinder Gujjar was named One to Watch in 2023. In independent wrestling news, the East Coast Wrestling Association, one of the industry's longest-running independent promotions, has signed a multi-year streaming deal with Premier Streaming Network, according to an official press release yesterday. The ECWA will be part of the platform when it launches next month, according to the release, making over 1,000 hours of archived content available, and will also stream live events on the platform starting on March 25th with the 2023 edition of the company's Super 8 tournament, which has been running annually since 1997. Said ECWA owner Ryan Kavanaugh, quote, I don't think the original owner, Jim Kettner, ever thought that people would be watching his shows 30 or 40 years after they happened. And as we continue, we are constantly finding more old footage. You never know what we might come across, but it will be exclusively on PSN, and we are excited to share it with wrestling fans." Unquote. Past winners of the Super 8 tournament include Christopher Daniels, Low Key, Paul London, Jerry Lynn, Xavier Woods, Tommaso Ciampa, Lance Anoa'i, and Darius Carter. The ECWA was founded in 1967. In news from Japan, DDT ran their year-ending Nevermind show yesterday at Tokyo Dome City Hall. The main event saw KOD openweight champion Kazusada Higuchi make his 5th defense, defeating Yuki Ueno after 27 minutes and 57 seconds with a brain claw slam. In other title matches, Jun Akiyama retained the DDT Extreme title over Super Sasadango Machine with a wrist clutch exploder in only 2.5 minutes. Also, Tetsuya Endo, Kotaro Suzuki, and Yusuke Okada won the KO&D 6-man tag team championship from Naruki Doi, Toru Owashi, and Kazuki Harada after Endo pinned Harada. Other notable matches saw Konosuke Takeshita and Yukio Naya defeating Daisuke Sakamoto and Ricky Shane Page, and Mao won a 4-way match over Daisuke Sasaki, Chris Brooks, and Cara Noir after pinning Brooks. And before we leave you today, we'd like to remind you that however you consume your content, you can find the wrestling news 24 hours a day and 7 days a week across social media. On Twitter, follow us at Wrestling News AV. Our Facebook page is also Wrestling News AV. The Wrestling News can also be found on the Arcadian Vanguard YouTube page. And for those who utilize Amazon Echo devices, just tell Alexa to play the Wrestling News podcast. And remember to make sure you add podcast at the end. Once again, for daily updates, breaking news, and more, follow the Wrestling News across social media. And that's the news for today. If anything happens, we will be here to tell you about it. No clickbait, no paywall, just the Wrestling News. The Wrestling News is a division of Arcadian Vanguard, and the Wrestling Newscast is a production of the Arcadian Vanguard Podcast Network.